Axons Unleashed.
G'day, ladies and gents. Robbie Turner's my name. Welcome to our first ever podcast in the brand new Axon HQ studio. Fucking Timmy Webb. Good to have you here, brother.
Pleasure to be here.
I said to you on the way when you and I were sort of coordinating, I'll go back a bit. We're now recording this, 18th December, 24. You're going to be listening to this, ladies and gents, in the first week or so of January. So apologies for that. But, Timmy, when you and I made contact a few months ago, I said, look, mate, we're moving into the new HQ. It's not going to be set up properly by then. We'll kick it into 2025. And I loved your response. You said, I need you to hold me accountable. I promised myself I'd be doing a podcast this year. I haven't got it yet. Can you fit me in? And I'm like, let me just go speak to my AV guy. And Daniel and Kieran and the rest of the team have worked feverishly over the last 10 days whilst I've been away in Dubai. For those that follow me on socials, you're like, oh yeah, he was in Dubai for 10 days or so. Now I'm back. Now I'm doing this podcast. First one back. I'm a few days back off the plane, which is all good. And the studio is 95% set up. There's a few little extra bits and pieces that need to be done. So it's such a great honour to have you here. I want you to feel special that you're our first ever podcast guest. This will be our podcast room for the next forever. So however many hundreds of episodes or thousands of episodes, Joe Rogan, I'm fucking coming for you, mate. However many thousands of episodes we're going to do in here, I want you to feel special, Timmy, that you're the first one. When you first rocked up to the office, I'm like, oh, cool. I'm looking forward to meeting this guy. I'm like, g'day, mate. Good to meet you again. And what did you say?
You don't remember me, do you?
And you can imagine my embarrassments. I do pride myself on having a pretty good memory. But having said that, when you just go through a purging of your military career and
100%.
recreate yourself when you get out, what am I now, 11 and a bit years into that sort of journey? My memory is slipping down the end there. I'm like, how do we know each other? And you said?
You were my recruit instructor at Kapuka in December 98.
Yeah, so I wasn't in your direct platoon, but I was a drilly down there, and you're like, I'm pretty sure you taught me how to do drill back in the day. And then the penny dropped. I'm like, oh yeah, you sort of do look familiar a little bit.
Yeah.
And then of course we worked out that we probably ran into each other a number of times during your SOCOMD world.
Correct.
So that sort of hopefully gives everyone a bit of an insight now into the cracking conversations we're going to have. We did just spend half an hour in the kitchen, me getting to know you a little bit more, and then like there'd be a few hundred people that you and I know as mutual friends I would put forward. Easy.
Yep.
Just the names that we were just dropping then and just, oh, fuck, I haven't heard of that guy for about years. How's he doing, etc. So
from JTAX Commandos over in Perth. Yep.
Yeah, so good. So, and Daniel, as you and I were just talking about then, every time we've had someone come in from the SOCOM world, noting that was my last sort of decade or so, just the vibe and the bounce and just the energy sort of comes into this. So I'm really looking forward to allowing other people to hear your story, mate. So
really appreciate that. And look, I'm going to have to jump in quickly because I know how you go. Very aware that, first here in the establishment. So I thought it'd be rude if I came empty-handed.
Okay, this is a surprise. We have not, we haven't rehearsed this.
Okay. So, firstly, I'm based on the Sunshine Coast, and I need to introduce you to one of the best chocolate companies. And I know you, the Axon spread. All right.
He's just bloody give us the Axon. Mate, yes, please. Can I open this now?
You can open that now, yeah.
Live on TV that no one's watching.
Okay.
So when they're watching it.
Finch Avenue is the brand. Okay.
Cocoa Pod.
Yep. Just recently rebranded. So Finch Avenue, fantastic chocolates. They're absolutely amazing and produced just around the corner from me.
Mate, look at this Finch Avenue. So it is. I'm a bit like a bloody bull in a china shop. I just rip shit open, right? I'm fucking... So the missus is like, we can leave that paper for next time. Okay, no, we can't. Fair enough. Oh, look at that. Gold balls in. I love having some gold balls in my mouth. Don't you worry about that. Some cookies and cream. Delightfully Turkish. Gold rigger honeycomb. That's coming back with me. Some nutty butter toffee and ginger nut. Love it. Holy shit. The team are going to fucking love this.
Now,
actually, they won't even know about it.
Yeah, quality chocolate. You don't need to eat a lot of it, and you've got to make sure you're eating it at room temperature. All right.
Roger that.
Lots of stuff that I've learned.
Maybe with a coffee as well.
Hey, yeah, absolutely. Look, red wine, coffee. Like you can mix and match. Depends how much.
You really are trying to butter me up, aren't you?
No, mate. That's
amazing.
Just
dude.
my friendly nature.
Thank you so much.
Not finished there, mate.
Okay, right.
A little military sort of heirloom. SOTER is an exclusive distributor in Australia for the Dnipro arterial tourniquet and some of their other products. So, it's just something that's close to our heart. And what we're trying to do is better prepare our first responders and military personnel with quality items. So, this one is obviously the Ukrainian developed and been used extensively over there for the last 2 years. And that's yours for your outdoor adventures.
Mate, my outdoor adventures with the amount of injuries that I have from my humble 24 years service are very limited.
Yep.
I don't do camping. I don't do glamping. I do room service, Mr. Turner. That's fucking as far as I go. So if I'm needing a tourniquet while sitting in a 5-star hotel somewhere, something really fucked up has happened.
Chances are it's going to be an MVA on the Gold Coast here somewhere, so just throw it in your car.
No worry, good idea, yes.
You wouldn't be the first ex-commando that saved someone's life on the road.
MVA, I love it, multi-vehicle accident.
Yep.
Fucking boom. There's going to be a bunch of TLAs to be thrown around today for sure. Mate, very sweet. Daniel, help me out here. How many guests have brought gifts into our podcast? What's this, number 70 what?
This will be 79.
79, yep.
I think you'd be the second or third.
That's right, not many.
Well,
certainly no one's bought chocolate before.
Yeah.
People might have bought some little bullshit trinkets or something, but fuck me, like on the verge of Christmas.
I pay attention.
This is a good thing. The rest of the team out there are not going to know about this until January next year. They'll be like, where's those chocolates Timmy Webb bought you?
Well,
I'll be like,
I tell you what.
I'll be the old Jedi mind trick. Nothing to see here, ladies and gents.
You can answer to them. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Mate, I love it. I bloody do. Fantastic. As always, mate, well, first and foremost, I know there's a bunch of things about your story which is going to resonate with so many people.
Yep.
The good, the bad, the otherwise. Generally, the bad and the otherwise resonate with people even more, even though what you've done, who you are, what the resilience and amount of effort you had to put into your career to achieve what you did will be really inspirational to a lot of people. But also, how did you handle the bad times? And I know that you can go as deep as you like into some of that stuff, but certainly me having a bit of an insight already into some of the things you've had to go through and handle, and then still pop out the other side in a reasonable shape. For those watching on any sort of video, the YouTube's here. He's sitting here in bloody peak condition, this man. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the story. But as always, mate, take us back to the start. Where did you grow up? Why'd you join the military? And then can just roll straight into what was besides the bloody fit, young, strapping 28-year-old Bombardier Turner back then that you ran into, what was the rest of Kapuka like for you? But yeah, go for it.
Yeah, okay. So born and raised Melbourne, Victoria. So ironically, one street away from the School of Signals, where I ended up a little bit later on.
Yeah, there you go.
And just pretty standard middle-class family, youngest of 4. Dad was a computer programmer by that stage, and mum predominantly studied and stay-at-home mum. And basically, why did I join the military? I actually, grew up seeing these military displays at the barracks. We used to have one armoured in Pucker at the time. Indeed. So they'd come down the road. We'd have, the tank bridge crossing devices and APCs running around from 4th, 19th and all that sort of thing. So you'd see these live demonstrations, which no longer happen.
Not as much.
Well, yeah, okay.
There was a big bloody Boxer tank thing at the Gold Coast 500 recently that I saw.
Okay,
so that was good. Like, it's just a static demonstration.
Yeah,
though.
no. So this is a at least sort of platoon company size attack.
Right.
MEC attack simulated, obviously blank, etc. So all of that land there in the army barracks at Watsonia is now redeveloped into housing. So again, how the army's changed. But so I grew up, seeing Hueys fly over, all the rest of that. Did not want to join the army. If anything, sort of getting towards the end of high school, and you could probably blame Top Gun, like everybody else that has come onto this podcast, thought I wanted to be a pilot. And as it turns out, I do have a heritage. My mother's uncle, so my great uncle, was a highly decorated fighter pilot during the very end of World War II.
Yeah,
and,
awesome.
Korea. So
when did you discover that?
After the fact, actually, that I was in the military. So once I sort of was in the military, Mum sort of explained a little bit more of that side. I do have quite an extensive military history. My dad was a Nasho in Vietnam, so his own struggles there. He got called up with the old ballot. He had 2 brothers that didn't go, and he was the youngest. He had glasses, so went into ordnance. So had he gone into infantry, who knows, might have got whacked and I wouldn't have been. So it's funny, sliding doors moments,
yes. You got that from listening to a couple of my podcasts, didn't
absolutely,
you?
Yeah.
Anyone else?
It resonates with me so
it
much.
Does. It's the best, yes.
So grandmother and grandfather on my mother's side were both involved in World War II.
Yeah, right. So you've got a fair history then.
Grandmother was one of the I guess the first sort of pseudo-operational female roles. It was kind of it was artillery radar operating out on the outskirts of Brisbane. So yeah, she used to drive around in jeeps and do all the rest of that. So grandfather was a Royal Australian Engineers, didn't deploy, but was in Darwin for the bombing, which when I listened to Geordie McCallum's podcast, we've got a little linkage there. So I haven't actually spoken to Geordie about that. So it's just really cool. Then great-grandfather, World War I, engineers. If my kids go into the military, they'll be 5th generation. So
yeah, bloody hell. That's a huge, I'd probably say the longest list of generational stuff there that I can remember. So yeah, good.
But didn't want to join. Not the army at least.
So what was how did that happen then?
Look, it actually was my closest sister's fiance. And I think they got married. He went to Duntroon in probably 97, 98, and he didn't finish, but decided to tap out, which is hard to do, as you know, during second class. But he had started reading the 2 SAS books. So, he sort of handed them to me, and I saw him pack marching and getting prepared for Duntroon and all the rest of that. And that sparked the interest. And I went, man, that looks like a pretty cool job. And when I didn't really know what I wanted to do leaving school, I actually did go and do some sort of vocational aptitude testing to sort of see what suits me and the like. And not strangely enough, highly regimented jobs like policing and the military flagged. And that just put it into my mind, well, what do I want to do? Do I want to serve my community around me, intimately, day in, day out, or something greater than I guess just that immediate societal sort of protection or value? So, and that's what that really touched me. For some reason, I wanted to be involved at something, I guess, at a national level to better Australia's future.
It takes a real special one of us, be that first responder, emergency services and or defence force, to just go, I'm going to put myself last and I just want to serve others and help people.
Yeah.
Yeah, good on you, mate. It's really cool.
And hats off to all the first responders, because I look at what I've been through and being able to dislocate that from, Afghanistan, Iraq, East Timor to home, because they're not obviously our culture. They're not, our neighbours where, these guys and girls see it day in, day out, and have to take it home each night. So,
yeah, for sure, buddy. Shout out to our first responders for sure. So eventually on the bus to Kapuka?
Yeah, so actually did...
Late 98.
Yeah, so very briefly, probably just because it's important, went into DFR again.
Oh, that's right.
Pretty much pre-internet, decent internet anyway. Probably got the address for Burke Street in Melbourne. Went in, did the aptitude testing and medical, and it was highlighted to me, which I knew, but I did have a colour vision deficiency. But of course, it's really, really gross, the testing, and that along with my really crap aptitude testing first time around, they said I could be a cook, clerk, or a driver.
Woohoo!
And I went... Shout
out to all the cooks, clerks and drivers, by the way, but this is not the journey you were on.
Wasn't for me. And I just said, thanks, but no thanks. And I went, and I knew I'd blown the aptitude testing, so I went and just hit the books a little bit. Came back 6 months later, but had peeked behind the curtain of DFR and some of the tricks and the like that everybody that's come on this podcast has mentioned. And said, yeah, look, I'm just going to tap the toe on the water first, and went ARES. So I got some good information in that 6 months that I was away, and part of that process was I was going to enlist and hopefully get posted to 126 Commando Signal Squadron, which was based at the school of, or on the same barracks as the school of signals
down in
right
Melbourne.
next to my house.
Yeah, awesome. Bloody hell, that's good.
So,
most people don't join the military and then get posted back home. In fact, most people don't want to do that.
So that's right, and I knew it was a high tempo unit, and they had an ARA capability within the unit, and that was the best decision I ever made, because what happened was, you know, I was a 19-year-old kid, I had a good head on my shoulders with, you know, pretty decent maturity at that time, and I just got taken under the wing of some of these very experienced commando
Awesome.
deck commanders, and some pretty operational roles straight up as a guy that's just walked off the street. So that, along with you know, being able to pick up SMGs, you know, pistols, shotguns, the like, and just get into the good stuff for a bit of fun. So yeah, got commando qualified there very quickly. After Kapuka, we better take a step back. Yeah, Kapuka 98, and bumped into yours truly. Although you were in 2 platoon, I was Alpha Company 1 platoon, and loved it so much. I'm like, man, I've got to go full time. And I knew then that I had a, you know, pretty decent career ahead of me, providing that I could keep myself.
I've had many people jump in here and say they loved their time at Kapuka, but I didn't. I should have yelled louder.
Well, I do have to throw something down here that Kapuka that year, and you've got to be able to back me up here, that summer in Wagga was the hottest summer probably on record.
We've heard about the coldest winter in Canberra ever.
Yeah.
Shout out to the late great Luke Millwood. but now we've got the hottest summer in Wagga.
Well, summers in Melbourne are crap when you're trying to sleep.
Yes.
You know, they're obviously erratic, but when it's hot, it's hot. And I remember trying to sleep, you know, had the fan, had a spray bottle, and just like, this is ridiculous. So yeah, no, it's
good on you, man. I'm glad that you know, just getting there and doing good soldier stuff.
Yeah.
You know, doing the bayonet assault course, doing the ops course, you know, learning how to be an awesome operator in the barracks.
Yeah.
Working together as a close-knit team, et cetera, et cetera. It's, you know, just fundamental to being successful in the military as a whole.
Look, and loving it isn't to say it was necessarily easy. I definitely, you know, was never at the top of anything, you know, fitness, or probably I actually couldn't shoot back then, for sure. But, you know, was always trying, and that's all you got to do. You got to turn up and just keep applying yourself. So, yeah, I loved the experience. I loved that. Just I guess the start of that indoctrination, and I was green as when I came out. And
where'd you go after that?
So yeah, posted as a reservist to 126 Commando Signal Squadron. It was an independent squadron. However, it had just been highlighted to become the signal squadron for the new 4RR Commando. So across that period, so January 99 through to 2001. The squadron got moved to Holsworthy, sort of across that period that 4RR Commando went to, or just prior to them going to Timor in 2001. I was fortunate enough, I had done my Commando basic training course with other ARA soldiers from, you know, around Australia in 99. And to get your Green Beret at the time, you needed to do a minimum of your parachute course and amphibious course. So I did both of those, or all of those courses finished by January 2000. And then I thought I was going to be lucky enough to get a spot going to Timor with 4RR Commando, because I had my Green Beret. However, the signals trade model, which I aligned to, said that I needed to do a 2-week information systems and typing course, basically. And
that's me giggling in the background, by the way.
Oh my God! And that's the
start.
start.
You're shaking your head.
And that's the start of 10 years worth or 12 years worth of that sort of rubbish. But I
was the same, right? I kept my artillery hat badge all the way through. So signals and artillery were the only two corps within the SF world that could keep their hat badges.
I think medical could as well.
You're absolutely right, medical. So the three of us there, and you know, certainly you need to be dedicated high-level specialists within those three corps, but still be able to operate within the environment with the same skills as everyone else. So, but you know, I had artillery-specific courses pulling me back, pulling me sideways, competing priorities, I guess is one of those things. But I wanted to keep doing that because that's what I love. That's who I was. I was a joint fires guy. I didn't want to be that infantry dude. I could be there with them side by side, no dramas, but I brought a specific extra set of skill sets, which obviously people enjoyed. So that was a path you were going down as well.
Yeah, so and there certainly wasn't an intellectual side to the comms, especially at a SF level, and the responsibility. So even as a reservist, I would remember dealing with police superintendents and full colonels as a choco digger. So there were some really great opportunities to to flourish in that world. So as I said earlier, I identified that I wanted to go ARA as soon as I got to Kapuka. Well, that took a 2-year process, 2.5 years almost, and that basically got raised and supported when 4AR were in Timor and I got kept home. I ended up going to the School of Fools or School of Signals for that 6-month period that most of them were deployed to do the operator radio specialist communications trade. So regardless of only needing 2 weeks as a reservist, again, just to conform to, big army and the ARA model, I went and did that. So that was a almost complete waste of time. The only thing I actually got out of that was I learned to touch type, and that is probably the most valuable skill that I use right now. So yeah, it's great. So cracking out 80 words a minute after only a couple of weeks on the keyboard, I was pretty good at it. So
and just as a bit of a heads up, almost a bit of a spoiler, that's the one of first of many. Hey mate, I know you're already qualified, but you need to go back and do this course. Yep. You're about to hear about a bunch of them coming up, and this is what forms part of the really inspirational resilience, viewpoint. I have a view. Yeah, go for it.
Got posted to 4AR Commando after that end of September 2001. So I was at the School of Signals, woke up one morning on would have been the 10th of September in Australia, and I remember going out your single room, remember the lines, and the guy across from me had his door open and the TV on, and he's like, "Oi, mate, check this." And he'd been up for hours, and it had probably only happened an hour and a half, 2 hours earlier.
Early morning over here. Yeah,
first plane hit. And I'm like, what movie is this, mate? And he's just like, this is happening. And I'm like, get fucked.
Yeah.
And it was at that point, I knew that the future was going to be very active.
Good.
So what a time to get in.
Everyone remembers where they were at that time. Everyone in the military remembers. Do you remember, Dubs, when you heard about 9/11? Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a fucking MMA cage fighter. You're sort of like in the military. Sort of.
Posted in, and obviously things, the wheels grind slowly, and there was, very little happening immediately, but went to essentially 1266 Squadron in 4AR Commando, and as one of the few Barrow qualified guys as a digger. A few more came in fairly shortly after me. Some really good lads that ended up warrant officers and the like. Throughout the time that I probably stayed fairly lowly ranked, I got put into essentially ops support company for 4AR in their recon platoon. And for me, this was all a part of, I guess, my development. I did want this. It was very much the position of the squadron as well, because I guess I was one of the more qualified guys as far as commando qualifications went. So, I got the opportunity to be a recon SIG, which essentially was grooming me to go to Perth. And I loved it. So, integrating, working with the commando company at the time, Bravo company, Charlie company was up top, so we didn't have a lot to do with them. Finished off essentially the Rio, which wasn't fully formed back then, just disjointed courses. Met heaps of awesome lads and some absolutely reputable names in the command now that have had stellar careers at the commandos and done great things. So fast forward a little bit, we do all the usual exercises and all the rest of that, and was lucky enough to go to Iraq in 2003 with Bravo company. That was a 4-month gig, and it was at that time that I sort of realised that the development of 4 was going to take some time, particularly at a political level, to have that will to put the faith and trust into such a young unit to do the job.
It's almost like the podcast is called Axon's Unleashed, and certainly that capability was not unleashed at that point, and you observed that, right? Yeah, 100%. I had heaps of mates. 100%. I wasn't in the unit at that time. That occurred just beforehand, but I'm there. Like, we went to Iraq, but we still didn't do anything. The commander capability is
some
nowhere
great training.
near.
Great training, you know. So getting the again, the leash being let off a little bit because you weren't under the constraints of, you know, Australian Rangers and all the rest of that. So yeah, some great live fire Rangers. Obviously, I worked very closely with the Special Operations Aviation Regiment from you know, the 160th. So, you know, met some fantastic people, great exposures in various different ways. Fifth group ODA, but yeah, at a I guess a mission level for the unit. They were
Pretty tame still.
Yeah. So, you know, it was a strategic point from the government, flag in the sand. We're working as a command now. SASR are doing their long range patrolling all through, you know, Western Iraq. We did get to go into Iraq proper, went into Al Assad Air Base, and I was there for probably, I think, about a week or so, essentially just giving them some relief in place. So get their head down. Those boys hadn't had a lot of sleep by that stage, so that was a few weeks in. So yeah, look, lots of good experiences, but for me, you know, and it even goes back to before we deployed. Chief of Army Peter Leahy at the time came to the unit, and he was a big RAR guy, and yeah, I'm just going to say right now, I've never been the guy that's going to hold his tongue. If there's a question to be asked, I asked it. If,
good.
You know, there was a comment, and you know, that I think needed to be said, I said it. And yeah, sure, I copped shit from the boys, particularly for that throughout my career. A lot of eye roll moments, but this particular time, I piped up to the CA. I said, "What's the plans for 4-hour commando? I mean, is it, you know, the potential for a name change? We were under SOCOMD at the time, so Major General Lewis had come in, and you know, he was the first SOCOMmander or SOCOST in that construct, and the unit didn't look anything like an infantry line battalion. We had an amphibious platoon, we had a climbing section, we had this, we had that, and so I posed the question. I'm like, name change, like 2nd Commando Regiment, and gosh, yeah, I remember one of the full tracks coming over me, fucking Webby, what do you do? Well, 6 years later, here we are, you know, like 2009, they get rebadged. So I think all of that and Iraq, I just went, look, at the time I was looking at a 10-year career. I'm like, I'm going to do 10 years and get out. So it just prompted me to push for Perth. So that's what I did. 2004, March, April, summer selection. They had 2 at the time. And did the 21 odd days and did well, was selected, and went into the reinforcement cycle in Perth.
Yeah, nice. Same year I did mine.
Yeah, for East, yeah. Yep. There you go. So
2004, worst weather ever. Hottest summers, coldest winters, largest amounts of rain. Horrible year.
It was hot in Perth, but I don't know about there, but yeah.
Doesn't matter, yeah.
That then started the, you know, best part of, I guess, 16 months reinforcement cycle. Ended up in water operations, and diving and all that jazz. Small boat operations, which again, I'd already done an amphibious course. You know, but you know, a lot of these things now, who knows, may be changing because they're seeing things like MTBI and all the rest of that from, you know, overexposure to explosion. So, but there were guys from Charlie Company. There was 14 of us from 4-hour Commando that passed selection for Perth that year. And there were guys from Charlie Company in there, and they had to go and do advanced CQB on the Rio again.
Having been doing it as a job for the previous couple of years, yeah.
So, I don't know.
Look, it's their way of doing it. It's our way of doing it. It's
back then, definitely.
If you come to us, then you're going to need to do it our way.
Yeah.
I can see the merit of it.
Yeah. Finished up water ops course. I think it was about July, August in 2005. We did a Swift Eagle. So key point to the story. I had an injury at the end of the water ops course and missed a 3 or 4 day full mission. So I got an NYC against my course report. A few weeks later, posted into E Troop 2 Squadron, and we went to Swift Eagle, I think it was, in around about a few weeks later, and we did a 7 to 10 day full mission profile, MC 130 over the horizon, 2 metal frame pallet F470, boat deployment,
parachute load follow.
Yeah, parachute load follow. 2 OPs, island hopping, lifting, caching, boats, etc.
Fucking
And-
hard yards, isn't it?
And
I tell people about that. They're like, "You did what?" Yeah, man.
Extract-
You jump into the ocean over the horizon, put your flippers on. If you don't fucking get drowned by the bloody parachute lines, swim out of your boat, crack it all open, find the fucking engines, put them all together. Like it's
work.
all's
Nothing's
at
easy
night time.
in water operations,
At night time, whilst worrying about fucking
Yeah.
having your legs taken by a shark. Like it's crazy, mate. It's people don't believe me. So I'm telling you, it happens.
Oh, it was a great patrol because it was a very expensive patrol too. So we got extracted by caribou, and they hadn't done a survey on the airstrip on this island, and they'd taken out a GPS on their front wheel, and we'd got cameras wet and batteries and radios issues and stuff. So I remember there was a bit of a bill for that one. But so yeah, look, I thought in my mind I'd tick that box, full mission profile, but you don't go back at that point in time and go, hey, Troop Sarge,
Can you sign me off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, month or two later, rotation 1, Afghanistan. So went over there, fantastic deployment. We actually got held up in Diego Garcia.
I remember that
overnight.
So that was the next meeting point for us.
Probably,
Little did we know.
Yeah.
it
So
was.
and I think they said we're going to be there for 3 days because antenna busted on the C-17.
Mm-hmm.
Hurricane Katrina was going on in the US, and they weren't going to get parts out, so they just said, hey, 3 days. Of course, what do boys do when they're in Diego Garcia? They go get on some beers, and got back to bed at about 1:30 or 2 that morning.
Little known fact, I woke up in a US bungalow a few hundred meters away from mine, minus my pants.
Yep.
I had no idea how I even got there.
Yeah. So
But anyway, I stumbled home in the morning, grabbed a little couple of leaves.
So I hear a little voice about half an hour after I'd laid down. I don't think I'd even drifted off to sleep. And it's like, Australian Commander. And I'm just like, oh, this isn't good. So I was pretty wasted, and we were getting boarded onto a C-17 in the next couple of hours. However long that flight is, I was still pretty under the weather, and we were TAC approaching.
TAC approach, TAC descent down in the TK.
Yep.
I remember it. You seeing
Yep.
shit float around everywhere. First time happened.
And then those back doors opened in the heat, and I just went,
Where the fuck are we? Yeah, this is cool. I'm glad we're sharing this.
so yeah. Then
Who knew back then that we would be sitting here doing a podcast right now?
Crazy, isn't it?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, great deployment. And as we, discussed just previously, it was that deployment where I had to look across to the lads from 4 and see that, again, they weren't being utilised in at least a little bit more of a capacity they could have been. But it meant I'd made the right decision. So,
There was lots of argy-bargy, let me tell you, at the platoon/troop/company level about who could do what. Like, little brother was sleeping in big brother's bedroom, and it fucking didn't go down well at all. It was the first time, I think, of the very, very long-standing and well-documented argy-bargy between the two units. That's when it started, and I was there to witness it.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, there's been various things over the years, again, but I just kept my head down and, did my job, and had a great trip. I think the first contact since the 2001-2 sort of SASR, Afghanistan Series 1, if you want to call it that.
We used to see the LRPVs roll back in with fucking bullet holes and shit everywhere.
Yeah, so Bad Cossack was a big shootout where we got ambushed by 300 people. So my car was the one that got RPG'd with some names, Crackers, rest in peace, and Nick.
Yeah.
Big days. Not heaps. Like, it wasn't like, again, going a decade down or 8 to 10 years down, things heated up.
But at the time, that's what all we knew.
Correct. Some great long range patrols, great just exposure to the environment. So came back from that just a couple of days after Christmas, so a 4-month trip, and 2 squadron was sort of getting re-rolled to some other capabilities, and I got moved into 1 squadron, and some difficulties there, I guess. You build a rapport with people, and you got to create that with some new guys that don't know you. So 2006, we got stood up. I think we're on domestic CT, and got stood up for East Timor for the unrest over there. So that was pretty tame, obviously, after
In comparison. But again, a job was over there,
job's
needed
a
to be
job.
done, went
Yep.
over there, got it sorted. Yeah.
So yeah, just breaking up street fights and all the rest of that. No, it's interesting. You hear other people's podcasts on various platforms, and you hear about the battalion boys and what they'd say about us rolling in, and then down the track, 2007 and 8, the commandos rolling in and what they're allowed to do and all the rest. I'm like, actually, yeah, it was pretty cool. That we were just you just go in and you're facilitated to do what you need to do.
Yep.
So yeah, 2006 we were hanging out with Alfredo Renato up in the Highlands there in Malbisi, gathering intelligence. We did a live ship underway recovery. Sorry, that might be the following year. 2007, we went back in at short notice to, again, take out Renato. So it was a real dichotomy. It's like one year you're sitting there having tea with him, dining, gleaming intelligence on that truly sort of heritage role of SASR. And then, the next year we were, on team, special recovery operations and went in there as part of the joint element with the commandos who were over there.
Yep.
To take him out.
Solve a problem. Yeah.
Yeah. And to their credit, commandos got a few kills up that day. We got given the intelligence for the wrong house. I was actually operating as a team member that day, so not as a signaller. So I was a shooter, and we hit the wrong building, and his team were elsewhere and ran into the commandos who cleaned them up, but they let him get away down there. Didn't do that cordon too well, did they? Yeah, no, just tongue in cheek. Look, that's the start, I think, of where I think I saw the vision for commandos and SAS were. So it was good to see some collaboration there.
It's good, man. It's just, even at this quite early stage, you've got so many different viewpoints and so many frames of reference and context to sort of look through. When do things start to take a bit of a turn?
So, look, it was in 2007. I had made that decision to stay as Signals Corps, and there was a few things occurring that I just probably decided I might have made that wrong decision. Longevity in the unit and the rest. So I'd put in a transfer to be an operator, ECN 353 or infantry corps, not thinking it would be too much of a problem. Fairly much paperwork. I was a Cat A pass. There was no Cat A, Cat B when I went through. You did what was required. You passed. You went through. The only difference, I hadn't done a CT driver and a explosive method of entry course because it was specific to those roles in domestic and special recovery operations. So was on the 2008 trip, rotation 6 Afghanistan. So again, what's that? My 5th trip in 5 years, plus a SAS reinforcement, selection and reinforcement cycle. And just the general high tempo training, on average, I think I was away from home 9 months of the year minimum.
And did I hear you say before you had did you have a partner at this stage?
Yeah,
family?
Married, had first child in 2007.
How were they coping with all this?
Yeah, okay at that stage.
Good.
Yeah. I missed the Fiji trip, which again, to the unfortunate incident of that Black Hawk bouncing off.
Sliding doors moment.
Where the water troop, we're jumping back in, they'd just been on a dive and we're jumping back in and dragging guys to the surface and helping with that because I'd gone away on my marriage and honeymoon. I'd made the decision to go, infantry. And, from my perspective, it was a bit weird. I was asked that I was going to be, assessed, if I was capable on that operational tour. And, but I was fulfilling the role as the troop signaller, so I wasn't in that role. But there was some moments on that trip that morally challenged me from my command structure, and I brought them up through the appropriate channels, only to have that sort of come back down on me, and that was enough. Again,
so disappointing to hear.
Ethically for me to just revisit my decision and go, hang on a second, is this what I really want to do? So I pulled the transfer, came back from that, and I recall leaving Afghanistan, psych debrief, and I'm just, I'd laid it all out, everything we'd seen, done, contacts, the like, and that was the start of the really dynamic operations, at least from the SAS perspective. We were doing helicopter assault force in limited capacity. We didn't have them on tap like later. we were doing vehicle drop-offs and 15K stomps in at 3,500 metres. I remember actually the OC, we did 2 consecutive on the same target because he wasn't happy with the first one when it was a dry hole. So we got in some good little jobs, and that was great. But at the end of it, debriefed, and I just said, I didn't want to come back to Afghanistan. It was how disgruntled I was kind of feeling, not realising some of the shit that I was holding on to. So went back, had a year off in a non-operational role, the JTAC cell in Perth, which is where we've got a lot of like names, and that was a good year, and that just allowed me to sort of just reset. And it was during that year that the Barry qualified support model, as it was back then. So again, those JTACs or artillery signals medics that had earned their qualifications and could stay in their corps were told, not going to happen, and we're going to take your hat and you pay off, you're down the track. So that was enough for me to go, well, I've only just been promoted to a corporal. I was sitting.
What have you done now? 10 years or so?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think I was only a Lance Jack in 2007. Full corporal come 2009, and I was by 2010 getting ahead, but I was sitting at number 1 pack for sergeant. But in 2009, I decided, well, no, I've earned this position, this qualification, and I'm not ready to stop doing the job. So the transfer paperwork went back in. And 2010, I got put into a deck commander's role within one of the SIG troops because, again, it's a trade model. The command said, the squadron command said, that's what we want you to do. But during that time, I was advised by an acting RSM that I needed to go back and do, for my transfer to take effect, the water operations course again.
The last little bit of that full mission profile.
Correct. And that was disappointing because, a simple stat deck from, the troop sergeant at the time, or on various full mission profiles that I would have done across those years, was not going to be accepted. So, some lessons there that, I want to, I guess, impart onto other soldiers, sailors, airmen. It doesn't matter what unit you're in. There are always going to be these moments. There are going to be the system, the bureaucracy, or just the personality that are going to challenge you. How they can handle it, potentially better than maybe what I did.
So what did you? You sucked it up?
I sucked it up,
all right.
Yeah. And the CEO at the time said, hey, Webby, sometimes you just got to do these things. I'm like, oh, you know what? It's 12 weeks of my life. It was crap, but it got worse. By that stage, I'd had a second child in 2009. So this is now 2010. And I'd found out my wife was pregnant. She actually had a miscarriage while I was on that course. So,
right. Oh, wow.
That was pretty crap. But so finished that course. Don't need to go into how easy the full mission profile was on that course, but
box ticking exercise, no less.
Operational requirements had people strung out everywhere in the unit. So it was frustrating because you miss other opportunities. So, but I met some great people, obviously. Then coming out of that, I got posted back into 2 Squadron E Troop, and was down there for a number of months. I'd also done SF climbing course and the CT driver MOE, just to tick those boxes and actually grab that capability that's required of the job. And
so in your mind, you're like fully ready to go, right?
Yeah. Yep. And went back, got posted into the troop. Paperwork was still catching me up, They were trying to drop me back to reinforcements pay. And I'm like, well, hang on, I've been in a troop for 6 years. So
I'm sure people listening to this are shaking their head, giggling as well, going, what do you mean you're dropping back to reinforcement pay having been in the unit for 6 years? It's nonsense.
Yeah, I know. So, and all of this has taken an extreme toll
of course.
On my well-being and my family's. Like, I was taking the stress home.
Of course.
I recognise that now in hindsight. So, but, that's all behind me. I'm in the troop. We almost go to Egypt. If you remember the civil unrest over there in 2000, late 2010.
No, not really, actually. But
okay. Yeah. Well, 2 guys ended up going and just doing a little bit of intelligence gathering, and came back from, Christmas leave or whatever, and the troop sergeant had gone off on a gig, and I just had somebody else say to me, hey, you've got to, you're not cutting it, no reporting or anything like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, where's this come from? And it was the decision was made for me that I had to go and do the target prosecution continuum course, which is your advanced CQB, full mission profiles, all the rest of that. Another 3-month course that this time I had all the qualifications for and no negative reporting. So tried to fight that through the chain. I was told again, no. You're going to go do 4 weeks of shooting.
Webby, sometimes you just have to do it, mate.
You got to go do
that fucking chestnut.
You got to go do 4 weeks of shooting, and I'm like, okay, I can go do 4 weeks.
4 weeks of shooting is cool.
Yep,
nothing wrong with that.
Yet more
time on
more
the
ammo allocation than probably all the battalions together.
An individual gets more than a whole brigade.
Yeah, so went back in 3.5 weeks in, and I'm just touching base with
course manager,
op support squadron and course manager and the like. What happens after 4 weeks? My troop's gone on a bucket list dive trip to Guam, US nuclear subs. Never got to dive with the Aussie subs; they would never work, and manning issues, all that. So missed out on that.
I was over in that trip to Guam as the LO.
Stop it.
Yeah, I was over there.
So I'm thinking, maybe they'll fly me over, whatever. And word came back, no, you're doing the 12 weeks. And that's when life changed for me. I just went, a fuse blew.
Yeah, understandably, mate.
And I just pulled the pin. Told the course manager, I'm done. Went into the squadron sergeant major, 2 squadron, and just went, I've just pulled off the course. Understand that may affect my employability in this squadron because I was obviously there for someone's reason. And went and I had some medical things I mentioned to you earlier. I'd actually gone on that course with carpal tunnel syndrome in my master hand, and I couldn't feel my trigger finger after the first couple of minutes in the house. So, there were some safety things in my mind that were just one of a number of reasons why I shouldn't have been there, other than qualification, etc. And I had to get out of the unit. I was about to explode, and I very, very rapidly took long service leave, half pay. And the first thing I just gravitated to was, what did I love doing? And that's important. I think it's really important in the transition perspective when we're talking about anybody that's thinking about leaving defence, is look at the skills that you've gained in defence and what aligns with you and your interests and your values. And for me, it was a patrol medic qualification that I got because I was already obviously an SFCIG. So I went into the mining industry as a medic and just chilled out for a bit.
How'd you get that job?
I reached out to a recruitment company in Perth. Obviously, mining is pretty big in
course.
that side, and just went, hey,
especially back then.
I'm looking for, and it was a growth period.
Yeah,
I said I'm looking for some medic work, and I got snapped up real quick.
No shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, couple of weeks later or whatever, and I'm in the mines, and I'm sitting there watching. It was the most dead end job. Core drilling, where they go in before it's a mine and they actually check what the geology is.
Of course.
I'm sitting there watching, some plants, like a bulldozer and an excavator prepare these pads for a drill rig to come in, and I'm sitting there in a 4-wheel-drive ambo just going, what the fuck have I done?
I can imagine.
But it did give me that space, and I started to get that interest in paramedicine, and I was just thinking about the future. I wasn't convinced I was done, went back to the unit, and, I'd had conversations with the RSM at the time and about potential avenues into specialist areas to take into consideration my technical background, my operator background, and, what that might look like. And there was a few things on the table, and I got back and basically was told that's not on the table. So it made my decision really, really easy. And I discharged from the ARA.
Bloody hell.
So I got some surgery on the carpal tunnel syndrome.
Just got yourself fixed up.
Yeah, got that fixed up. And what I didn't do though is I literally just dropped smoke and went. There was no farewell. There was no plaque giving. There was no transition seminars.
Right.
There was no help. There was no mentoring.
Yeah.
It was, and as
no
you can,
checklist for you to follow.
There was that, but that was literally like I was beelining. I wanted to hand everything in and be as far away from there as possible.
I reckon 90% of the veterans listening to this right now are just sitting here going, if you're not clapped out with a plaque and a pat on the bum and a kiss in the ear, you're like, just get me the fuck out of here. Here's my shit. I'm going to go do something else.
Yeah, look, and at the time, I probably saw it as a positive transition because I went into paid work. I had the medic thing. I told them I was, having a few shifts or swings off, but I knew there was work there. They'd seen what I was capable of in 6 months, and I knew I had employment.
That was just a veteran seeking for the next lily pad, though. You've got to have that closure.
Correct.
Yeah, so keep talking.
Yeah, so I now recognise, and again from one of your podcasts, that I was compensating. I was just leaving one thing and looking for the comfort somewhere else. It was a bit of an adrenaline fix. It was the excitement of being away. It was basically not so much on the smaller rosters, but that career then morphed from paramedicine into health and safety in oil and gas and the like. But they were mini deployments, So at the time, I'm like, hey, I'm killing it. I'm like, I've left this job. It was great. Loved every minute of it. Left unhappy, but look at me now. And it was a few years later that I realised and I started to see the drinking increase. I was, being pretty harsh on the family. I was coming back stressed, and nothing was fixing how I was feeling. So, I ended up being medicated, and that helped for a little while. But, again, to reframe this into the transition process, if you don't get or are afforded that I guess that process or some of the opportunities to deal with whatever it is, the reasons that you're wanting to leave and opportunities. Again, I have no idea what's in a transition seminar, but, take them, absolutely take them, and don't jump. Don't be prepared to jump so quickly. Make sure that you see what the service has to offer you with regards to that, so that, again, you leave on a more balanced footing. Because for me, it caught up with me 5 years later.
Yeah, I bet.
And I went in the hole for a good 18 months, minimum in 2017.
So 2017, I think you were saying that, yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you know you were going into the hole?
Again, just the drinking. I was working in West Africa in oil and gas for a multinational oil and gas company, largest publicly listed one in the world, flying business class, doing the high life. By this stage, I'd moved my family over to Noosa. I was
awesome.
Holidaying in the Sunny Coast every time I went home, like it's picture perfect, really. Even time roster, pretty much 4 weeks on, 4 weeks off. But I was getting re-triggered when I was away at work, and I was drinking a lot. And I started to see those cracks really widen. And fortunately, medical background. And I was right across all of that. And I got home and pretty much addressed it, brought it up. So and went down the process, and
you
started
said you
the
got a
DVA.
bunch of good DVA assistance at that time that was really good.
Yeah, so I went down.
Great to hear.
The DVA claims process and just started that ball rolling and the like. And while all of that was happening, I think, some claims partially accepted immediately, on white card. I enrolled in a DVA mental health outpatient program.
Good.
Which was good. For me, cognitive-based therapy works. Very logical, analytical sort of person. So, I could sit there and I had the medical background. So that definitely helped me. Understand it's not for everyone. Medication isn't for everyone. There's so many more things out there now with all the information. I just encourage people to talk to other veterans, talk to other first responders or people that they know of, going through mental health challenges to see what works for them.
I tried the medication stuff. It's a bit too spacey for me, though.
Yeah.
It stole my mind from being able to focus.
It's trial and error as well.
Yeah,
it's what works
true.
for you. So, by all means.
I tried one. It fucked it off. It didn't work. I've never had one since.
I wouldn't, force it on anybody. But, there are plenty of.
How did you transition into what you're doing now? Because I know you've still got so many things from all the. This is the great part of your story, among the rest of it that just was for the last 45 minutes, however long we've been going, is that I just feel as if you're now able to explain all the really good bits and all the really cool things and the things that you did love, you've been out and now make a new career out of.
Yeah, thanks. It came through that period of post-traumatic growth. And it's very important that
It's like you got to hit the low point until you know where the next high point's coming. The long-term high point.
Yeah.
It's like people that are on these carnivore diets. Like, how do you know someone's on a carnivore diet? They're walking around fucking telling you about it. It's like CrossFit. It's like pilots, right? The only way you know there's a pilot in the room is they're fucking walking around telling everyone. But what I'm talking about for the carnivore thing, it's not sustainable. Sure, you look fucking good after 6 or 8 weeks, but then your body gets to a point like, motherfucker, I need carbs or fucking sugar or I'm going to fucking malfunction sort of thing. Exactly. So it's not sustainable. So it's like you got to get to that low point in life to re-find yourself to go, right, what is my new sustainable direction? Yeah. Would you agree?
Yeah, look,
and
absolutely.
Guess what? This is now, I feel like, what you have discovered, which is so cool to hear about.
So while I was in doing all of that work on myself, I looked at historically what I'd done and why I'd done it. More importantly, why I'd done it. Yeah, I'd ended up in special forces and I had a fantastic, all up 15-year career. But I did it because I wanted to serve. I did it for a greater altruistic reason. I know that's not everybody, but that was fundamental to me joining the military. That was then fundamental to me becoming a paramedic in mining and then being on the proactive side doing health and safety.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there in this place going, what's next? What really aligns with me? And by leaving the military, or when leaving the military, there was zero accreditation for the skills that I had. And I'd done, Osmis long, pages of all these courses.
Yep.
Yet I came out and I still had to go and pay an RTO to get, some medical qualifications, to get some health and safety qualifications.
So the linkages between who you are and what you did were just not solid enough.
Correct.
In the real world.
And there's some great advice in there for anybody that's still in the system. If you can get even 8/10 of something accredited, you might get told, if you go to an RTO and, or you can go and do these last 2 components in your own time. I did at the time, I think I only got offered that once. You're too busy, you go back and you're like, I'm not going to do that. I don't have to do it. But please do go back and just apply that, 4 or 6 weeks to finish off something and get it accredited through the national system. And, you're going to leave with so much more. And that's what employers are looking for. Right?
It's almost like you don't want to carry around that temporary, not yet competent from the full mission profile. You've done a 12-week course. You missed out on 3 days worth. Sorry, mate, you're still not qualified.
Yeah.
You've got to wrap it all up,
exactly.
You've got to make it.
Exactly.
Complete the picture.
And a budding employer will look at all these certificates, even if you may not have used them. They're like, well, he's got all these qualifications and that might work for them. So what SOTER is about is addressing the accredited training from a medical capacity for skills that first responders particularly through to medical clinicians can do to better prepare them, one, for their job, fit for purpose training. So we've introduced the accredited tactical combat casualty care and tactical emergency casualty care for law enforcement and first responders, because the military and Australia law enforcement aren't actually doing this. They're still referring to an Australian first aid course that mums and dads do. Now, some of the states are starting to do some training and the like, but it's not standardised. So we're about standardising that training. And again, if we can offer it to people that are in service already, they come out with an international accreditation that at least represents something. So
awesome.
That's what the company was about. It was raised in 2020 during COVID, and we had to pivot services. So we've done medical services. We've currently got some paramedics on construction site. We've done other things through COVID, some TV shows, SAS Australia, Love Island. That was an interesting one.
Oh, Jesus.
We've worked for some other industrial clients. So it's good. Things are growing. And as I've shown you today, we've got a few unique products that we're exclusive distributors for. And it's
I hope I never open this except to save someone else's life.
Yeah, well, you can open it. It'll still be good for plenty on the shelf. But it's an extremely good product. So
Daniel, you'll do a close-up of this, but can you just talk us through your badge, talk us through your logo, because that's a really cool story.
Okay. So when I was actually the health and safety consultant in oil and gas, I came under my own, PTY Ltd. So at the time, I came up with an acronym for everything that I represented: safety, occupational training.
How good are acronyms?
I know.
Brevity and clarity.
Safety, occupational training, and emergency response.
Safety and occupational training and emergency response.
Yep.
Love it.
So, you know, the medical background, the health and safety background, safety, etc. Just, it seemed good. And it had a ring to it. And I'm like, I'm just going to Google. And it came up with SOTER was the personification of a Greek deity or god for safety, deliverance, and preservation.
Love it.
And as soon as I saw that, I went, that's exactly what this company is about. Little bit of a structural shift for the training requirements. Currently structured as a not-for-profit, but that's the heritage for the company. And
Talk me about the badge and the symbol.
Yeah, so sorry, the badge, obviously, the shield, protection. Again, we're very much there to hopefully upskill and prepare, you know, military and first responders with the medical preparedness skills they need for trauma. The Spartan Spartan-esque helmet is represents few in number. We are a small organisation, and I don't know if that will ever change, but it also lends to the heritage of, I guess, special forces, with the end effect of what few people can do.
Yep.
The wings represent the deliverance or retrieval, I guess, in a medical sense. And
dagger.
Obviously the dagger's a bit of a homage to hopefully being at the sharp end of this sort of development. The mission statement for the company is to strategically develop and position immediate medical and retrieval services in austere and remote environments.
Got it.
And
awesome.
It was designed to be that, because we're not just about trying to deliver the latest tactical medical product. It's actually, we want it to be evergreen. We want to be able to focus on whatever is next. And yeah, better that sort of medical preparedness.
Yeah. Can I give someone else a bit of advice? Like, you haven't called it Webb Consultancies. This is not Turner Property Group, for instance. I love it how there's a bit of thought, there's a bit of soul, there's a bit of substance, and now there's evergreen or legacy as part of what happens there.
Yeah.
And it's the same as Axon. You know, the story that to me, come up with this name, I heard someone speak about mindset, and I found out that axons are in the body, you know, part of the neurotransmission system. Correct. I'm like, fuck, what a cool name. I had no idea at that time, this was early 2016, that some 1 year later, I'll be like, that's the name of my business now.
Yeah.
You know, so I guess, you know, so many people that listen to this and speak to us from a property coaching perspective, like, I want to start my own business one day. And I'll be like, I just think to myself, don't be a dickhead and put your surname in your fucking business name. Just come up with something, like, think about it, and, you know, have that substance and soul and real depth to it and real meaning. So that's why I love the whole bloody SOTER story there, mate. Because, you know, when you hang up the boots one day, when we hang up the boots one day and say, I'd choose not to work anymore, there's a brand and there's a business and there's a name and there's a reputation that other people can take carriage of. Yeah, based on 100%. The work that you and I are doing hour to hour right now, building our business.
That is exactly it.
So yeah, Webby, thanks so much for coming on, mate. I really enjoyed having you as a guest, the first ever guest in our very, very long-standing podcast room. I love it how you've taken the time to listen to a few other podcast guests and sort of just get a bit of a feel for what it's like. And hopefully you've now experienced exactly what they sort of went through as well, mate. So I know your story is a powerful one. There's so many awesome levels of resilience and, you know, maintaining the will to win, but also recognizing that you've taken a bit of a hit, take a step back, reconfigure, recreate and bounce back 100%. And like, have a look how successful and happy you are now. Yeah. Like, compared to the shit that you've had to put up with back in the day.
Yeah. No, appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
Loved having you here,
great to share my story.
Thanks, buddy. All right. See you again soon. I enjoyed that one. Yes. Thank you for the new bloody flash background. There's so much more stuff we're going to create in this brand new studio and this brand new podcast space. I know this now becomes the new porthole or the new window that all of you now get to see the Axon brand evolve over the next couple of years. Keep listening, keep watching, keep engaging with us. See you all soon.